medical doctor work for 9 months, 16 months, 19 months without getting paid.
But you see how much kidnappers are eating from victims.
My bill is government should, I think all the stakeholders in that sector, they need to be spoken to, and sit together and appeal to them. The 3% for the oil producing community is too low.
So it is support that is needed. And once you get the support, your airlines will blossom.
This is Nigeria. You need to give people sense of belonging.
Good morning, Nigerians. It's another edition of Inside Nigeria here at the Leadership Podcast Studio. And of course, it's Thursday, October 7, 2021. As usual, I am with my co-host, Winifred. Winifred, good morning.
Good morning, Bode, and good morning, viewers out there. It's a pleasure to be on the platform of Inside Nigeria today.
Yeah, and so it is important to tell you that you are looking yellowish this morning.
Yeah, and I think to have complimented this day.
Top to bottom approach. Well, our regular analyst is with us, an Abuja-based public affairs analyst, Samaila. Musa Samaila, welcome to Inside Nigeria.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Good morning, Samantha. Good to have you in our studio today.
And of course, viewers out there, as usual, we are starting with Nigeria's most influential newspaper, The Leadership. On the front page of Leadership this morning, insecurity, federal government moral state of emergency in Anambra. Insecurity, federal government moral state of emergency in Anambra. In November 6 governorship election was held. It will worsen security situation, according to Haneze Indibo. Federal government constitutionally empowered to declare emergency rule, according to lawyers. Anambra's case does not suggest that. PDP replies, Southeast only wants equality, inclusion, says Governor Dave Umahi of Ebonyi State. Well, this is an issue about the forthcoming November 6th governorship election in Anambra State. And just yesterday, Samaida, we had the Attorney General and Minister of Justice suggesting that if the security situation does not improve in Anambra, the federal government may have no option than to declare state of emergency. And according to him, he said the electoral integrity or sanctity of the state must be rescued in order to avoid a constitutional crisis. What is your take?
Well, I think there's so much confusion. The federal government is also putting a lot of people into confusion because you see the situation in Anambra State actually has not gotten to that stage of actually declaring state of emergency. And when you talk about elections, we're not talking about the national general elections that you say, oh, all the 36 states are holding election at the same time. So what about if coming 2023, we have 18 states or 20 states having this kind of crisis? So what's going to happen? Because if what they are telling us is that just Anambra State is the only state that is having an election on November 6th, and they cannot take charge, they can't control what is happening there. Because when you talk about state of emergency, what's happening in Borno, what's happening in Kaduna State has not warranted state of emergency. We just have a pocket of killings here and there in Anambra State, and here you go. So a lot of people are already suggesting, even before it goes to this stage, that some desperate politicians from Anambra State who are hell-bent, and I don't want to mention particular individuals, who year in, year out, they have been contesting for that particular position. They haven't gotten it yet, and they feel they will have to get it by right or by crook, are actually the people behind, this trouble, so that they create this kind of chaos where, it will not get to a stage to say, just declare state of emergency, and then they will not have, a leeway to take over whatever rigging and all of that they want to. I mean, this whole thing has actually been mapped out. We're just seeing it unfolding by the day. It's a script playing out by, the people who are acting it. So, but it's sad if actually, the federal government is willing to hold an election in just one state you cannot control what is happening there. You have to declare a state of emergency.
Exactly what you said, Smila. That's what I'm saying. I just want to add my thoughts and also pose a question to you. Many people are of the opinion that, just like what you said, that considering what has been playing out in the northeast, like states of Yobe, Borno, even Adamawa, and Niger, elections have always held in that place, even despite Boko Haram. So many people are crying foul. What's
it's obvious. It's just like I said, it's a script that is just played out. I mean, even Zamfara itself, the crisis there, everybody, I don't even think state of emergency has ever cropped up in that. You understand? And these are places where people are dying in thousands, not even in hundreds, in thousands when you look at the statistics over a period of even 3 years, and here you are just. And this whole problem started in Anambra from the time the primaries were conducted. You understand? So we know the individuals behind it. What the at this stage is to call to order, sit them down in one place and say, please, call your people to order. Whoever is behind this thing, you people know about it. And if you claim you don't know, they are doing it on your behalf. Just call them to order, and this whole thing will be stopped. But when you go about, declaring state of emergency, so who will be in charge? You want to take over the state so that the region will be
it's
freer.
also important, Samantha, we bring out the facts to proper perspective. For example, she cited Niger, Borno, Yobe, insurgency over the years. Adamawa. But yes, there were insurgency in those places, but at the point of election, I don't think there were anything serious. Okay, but in the case of Anambra, these attackers are killing people, attacking public and private institutions. For example, INEC, that is supposed to conduct a free and fair election, its assets, human and material, are being destroyed. Thereby incapacitating the agency to be able to conduct a free and fair election. So the government is saying, see, we need to save the situation. Are you not seeing it from that perspective?
We've seen it from that perspective. But what I'm saying is that, look, these guys, there are people who are sponsoring these things. You understand? And this is what exactly they want to achieve. People have just been waiting to hear state of emergency be, actually being considered, because this is exactly what they want to achieve. I said to you, it's a script. It's coming to this state of emergency. But it all depends on what the people are saying, because if they are not stopped, I can tell you in the next 1 or 2 weeks, this state of emergency will be achieved in Anambra. Of course, we know there are, security issues. We know there are security challenges. But if the federal government is saying that just Anambra alone, you cannot put things in order without declaring state of emergency when election is just around the corner. You understand? And because you see, as a sitting government that have the conscience, you begin to look into some other things, factors, to say, well, the thinking of the people will be this. Even if we win this election free and fair, it will still amount to, people will believe that it's because of this. So because of that, let us move in just to make sure that there's, security of lives and property. But at the same time, this election will have to hold. At the same time, it has to be free and fair. At the same time, there must be a level playing ground for all the aspirants. You understand? So, and that will actually send a strong signal to people to say, okay, government has done its best.
Yes.
But people are already insinuating there's a particular candidate who belongs to the ruling party who is behind all this. And if his decisions are not really properly checked, because it's perception. If you can't manage perception properly, it now degenerates into another agitation. So they need to really manage it properly.
Well, they need to really manage it properly, and we also need to keep our fingers crossed to see what will happen at the end of the day. But what is important is the security of life and property in Anambra State beyond the election. Thank you very much, Samantha. We need to move to our sister publication.
It's National Economy. National Economy says Nigerians spent 17 trillion naira abroad on health tourism, education in 10 years. Nigerians spent 17 trillion abroad on health tourism, education in 10 years. That is on national economy. And the writer says is the money, that is 17 trillion, is twice federal government's 8.5 trillion budgetary allocations for same period.
Well, this is I don't know whether disturbing story.
It is.
But then on our part, we're just trying to is a public service story. We are
So
trying
you are
to
wondering
call
why
our
the
leaders
naira,
to
the naira is on free fall. You see
action.
the money they spend.
Look at 17 trillion in a period of 10 years on tourism, medical tourism, and education. So it means our healthcare system here is bad.
Yeah.
Our education system is not trusted.
Yeah.
Trusted by our leaders, people who call themselves our leaders. Now, capital flight.
Yeah.
They've taken a whopping 17 trillion naira to another person's land.
Yeah. This is actually disturbing story, because when you look at it, you see it's just in one particular class of people who are actually spending this money.
No, the thing is on the issue of education, I beg to disagree. Most Nigerians travel abroad to get masters or PhD, and it still boils down to the same thing. Most of these people get their foreign forests directly from CBN. CBN has allowances for such.
See, we're saying both the same thing. Is it the child of the downtrodden that is sending his child to go and school abroad? We're talking about the same thing. It's one particular class. You understand? And I bet you they know what is wrong with the system, but they won't fix it. And I give you an example with healthcare. If we have a president who actually was at the verge of death, that has to be rescued somewhere outside the shores of this country, he has been hale and healthy for only God knows like how many years now, and yet each time we hear he's going abroad for medical checkup, it's embarrassing. Our leaders need to be called to order. It's embarrassing because the same facilities you are seeing out there, you can replicate even if it's just two.
Yes.
Just situate two in a particular places in Nigeria where most of those people going there will come. Will be patronizing those places. Of course, we know perhaps maybe out of 100, maybe 5% are people who have critical conditions, that it requires the attention of specialists abroad. Where as a matter of fact, you see a lot of times either on Facebook or anywhere on social media, people are actually soliciting for funds.
Yes.
That because of this particular case has to be in social country and all of that. But that's just an isolated case. Other than that, majority of them, when they have headache, when they have catarrh, the next thing they are jetting out of this country, you understand, to travel, to go and have a medical checkup. We're not even talking about treatment here, just to even check themselves. They don't trust the system here, and yet is a system where they have been governed. I won't be surprised if you hear one day that the Minister of Health is actually doing medical checkup abroad. You understand? That is how shameless we are as a people, that we cannot really do something. Do you see all these things can be replicated? You understand? Even just have a pilot program to say, oh, we just want to have 2 or 3 for now in Nigeria. You understand? Any sensible person can now follow suit after we step aside or we leave the scene. Then this kind of things can continue. Have standard healthcare facilities that if we have half of this money in 10 years circulating within the health sector in Nigeria or the education sector, even the children of those that cannot afford to go to these countries that we're talking about are not going to Cotonou here. Is it not embarrassing that Cotonou here, Ghana and all of that, the higher institutions in those countries, 70% of the students there are Nigerians?
Exactly. However, what would you say about some Nigerians, not the well-rich, not the ones that are up there? You still have some women, mostly, because they want to have green citizenship for their children. They travel abroad to go and have children outside. So what do you say?
It's still the same. It's still the
that's
same.
What happens. I have friends
that does not have
friends
any
that
rights on our
travel.
money.
I have friends that travel. It's part of it. They capture it. Friends that travel just to go and have children because they want their children to have.
They go there and spend money.
It's still this under the same issue. The issue is that if the country is getting it right, people will have that. Usually, the drive is that people are already seeing how things are deteriorating, and they are trying to have a plan B for their children. You understand? To say, okay, let them have an option to say the way things are going bad, and it doesn't seem there's any solution in sight. So these kids, maybe if they have an alternative, by the time this place is collapsing, they can actually have another country to go to. That's just the thing. But if you have a system that people are beginning to see light at the end of the tunnel, that it seems Nigeria is now getting it, all these things will reduce drastically. I bet you it's going to reduce.
Well,
And sorry, we are still on this issue. On education, someone like me, interest you to know that most times in Nigeria, every time, yeah, everywhere, once you parade a foreign degree, foreign certificate,
Yeah.
you are prone to be employed than the ones that got their degree here. So how would you now blame those that are going outside to get
Yeah,
education?
it's a mentality. You see, it's all about leadership as well. I tell you an experience of a medical doctor that he shared with me. He was a consultant to the Northern Governors Forum on medical issues. And he told me, he said, Samuel, see, I have 2 clinics in Atlanta. I've been here, I spoke to these people, made presentation. They don't listen to me. None of them ever patronize me. But I decided to start bringing white guys from my own clinic in Atlanta, the people who are on my payroll. And immediately 4 of them key into the program because white guys are talking to them. These are non-entities in my clinic that I employed. You understand? It's a mentality where we have a very sick mentality that needs to be checked. We need to really check ourselves. You see, Chinese people who did not finish elementary school in their countries, if you put them on your board of whatever in Nigeria as a construction company, they prefer you than you that actually went to do masters elsewhere because they have a white skin. We have a serious problem that we really need to start looking inward. That what is the problem with this our mentality?
all right, Samuel, I hope those concerned we actually listen so that we can reduce the medical and education tourism. Thereby saving money for our own development here at home. For want of time, we need to go on a short break. When we come back, we will continue with our newspaper review segment on Inside Nigeria. We'll be back shortly.
Inside Nigeria, keeping you informed on what matters.
Welcome back. It's still Inside Nigeria, Thursday morning, October 7, 2021. And of course, we are still with our regular guest analyst, Samaila Musa. Samaila Musa is an Abuja-based public affairs analyst. Welcome, Samaila.
Thank you.
So far, yeah. We need to go to the next paper on our menu this morning, and that is This Day. On the front page of This Day, history as World Health Organization approves world's first malaria vaccine. History as WHO approves world's first malaria vaccine. Samaila, this is actually what can be described as a medical breakthrough in many years. The first malaria vaccine. And remember, malaria has killed many on this planet of Africa, on this continent of Africa. It's a tropical disease. Now we have a vaccine for the first time.
Yeah, it's actually a breakthrough. If it has been proven to actually be that effective, because malaria, it's recorded that about 500,000 across Africa yearly. So that means it's actually a very deadly disease, and most of the kids dying are below the age of 5 in most cases, due to malaria. So really, if this is going to prevent malaria ab initio, it's actually a very big breakthrough, especially for people in Africa. And it's only in Africa that you have it. I've had incidences of people traveling abroad, and because they left with malaria here, when they get sick over there, the way they are isolated. Somebody shared his experience to say it was the way they were treated. Doctors were equipping themselves during Ebola, because it's a strange thing. So they were wondering, they had to be calling doctors from all over the place to come look at him and examine him. So it's actually a problem here in Africa, and I've always thought about it that, well, maybe that's why this thing has lingered, because they don't have it over there, so there's not that much energy put into it to say let's go. If this is coming up at this time, I think it's actually laudable, and it will go a long way in saving especially little kids' life, because we have not seen, we've not gotten anything to prevent mosquitoes or to wipe out mosquitoes in Africa. So the only thing that actually is effective for now is vaccines like this to say you can prevent malaria. So it's a good.
Yeah, and I think it's also a pointer that another disease with us here that kill our people all the time, Lassa fever, can also get
vaccine. Yes.
Okay, if I may also put in, Samantha, this vaccine, it has been in the works for a long time. Even when I was covering head with them, and it took many years with trials and for it to come out vaccine, and that is why people are skeptical about this COVID-19 vaccine.
Yes, I was
they
going
say
to say
it just came suddenly.
The vaccine came up within the shortest time possible.
Yes, considering the years it took for us to come out with this.
While cancer, malaria has been for decades.
But you see that the COVID thing, it became very deadly.
Exactly.
Than all those ones. So it needs urgent, remedy to say, how can we quickly stop this? At the point when COVID was at its peak, we were thinking this is what is going to wipe out the whole world. You understand? So really, there's need for urgent steps to be taken, either trial or no trial. People became desperate. Medical experts became desperate that there must be a stop to this thing before we are all gone. So it's a good one. Actually,
so there's still need to deep in.
Of course, the research is ongoing. It's only in Africa that we don't have much funds for research. But I believe even the people who are producing this COVID vaccines are also not stopping at that. They keep, the research is still ongoing to still be looking for more effective way and more, of actually covering it.
All right, Smaila, you need to stay with us for just 1 minute. We need to go to the National Assembly, where the president in about 1.5 hours will be arriving to present the 2022 budget to a joint session of the National Assembly. Straightforward, we'll move to one of our correspondents at the National Assembly, Isua.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
You are doing great.
Well done,
All
Sunday.
right.
I can see you at the foyer of the National Assembly at the White House section. I know that is where the president will actually have an access to the Green Chamber. So what is happening as we speak?
What is the mood?
All right. As you can see right in my back, everywhere is set for the president to present the budget today. And as I was standing here, the Senate President, Ahmed Lawal, just moved into the chamber of the Senate for a brief plenary before the coming of the president by 12 p.m. And everywhere is set, everything has been put in place to ensure that the president have a very free, a hitch-free presentation of the budget. And as I speak with you, the Senate yesterday passed the MTEF, reducing the proposed budget from 16.4 to 16.3 billion. So you can see that the work that the lawmakers did yesterday have actually paved the way for the president's presentation of the 2022 appropriation bill. But as I speak with you now, in the red chamber, they will, commence plenary right now. Then they will stop by 11:30, then move to the chambers of the House of Representatives to receive the president for the budget presentation.
Sunday, can you guess what the mood of the National Assembly members will be when the president arrives? Will they, from what you are saying so far, will they warmly receive the president, or there are some misgivings about the over 6 trillion budget deficit that will actually amount to more loans to finance the budget?
Well, if you understand the present leadership of the National Assembly, in their resolve, they said that they are going to work with the executive in harmony. And the Senate President Ahmed Lawan said earlier that if it means that they will be called rubber stamp because of their cordial relationship with the executive, that they prefer to take that name, but that they won't go into a rancorous um, discussion with the executive, that they will prefer to settle their own issues behind closed doors. And as we have seen over the past years, this present National Assembly have been expeditiously passed the proposals of the president. And in terms of the people he sent for clearance, the Senate have cleared them, and the people he have sent for appointments as ministers, the Senate have passed all of them. So we have seen a cordial relationship, and as it is now, the proposed 16.3 trillion budget is something that the lawmakers will warmly receive, because since yesterday we realized that they have agreed, to move into the chambers of the House of Representatives and receive the president. So there won't be any issue from the lawmakers, except that maybe after the presentation, they will go into these items one after the other and know where they need to make some kind of amendment, make some kind of reduction, make some kind of increment and all that, because this budget is a bill and the lawmakers have their own right to go into the details of the bill and know what needs to be done, because as it is now, it's not what the president presented that the lawmakers will eventually pass. It's just a proposal, so it will go through the normal process. It will go through the normal legislative process, and at the end of the day, the lawmakers will bring out a document that will be sent to the president for his signature. And the lawmakers have been working hard to ensure that they maintain this yearly cycle of the budget from January to December. So they wouldn't want to, allow this budget cycle to slip away as it happened before. They want to keep a record that in their own time, they have been able to maintain the budget cycle from January to December. But within these few months, we are waiting to see the processes that will go on, and we are waiting to see what exactly the lawmakers will be doing. But as I speak with you right now, the Senate President is entering the chamber now, and the Sergeant at Arms are leading him to the Red Chamber for their normal legislative proceedings. But that will end by 11:30, and they will now move to the House of Representatives for the receive of the President 2022 appropriation bill.
All right, thank you very much, Sunday. Since leadership is one of the papers accredited to cover the budget presentation, you need to make your way big to the Green Chamber for security clearance. Many thanks to you, Sunday Iswa, for talking to us live from the National Assembly complex here in the nation's capital of Abuja. Samaila, we need to go to the next paper for want of time. Winifred, what is on the front page of Nigerian Tribune?
Okay, Nigerian Tribune, we still have the same Anambra story. And it says, lawyers Afenifere, Ohaneze, PDP question federal government's threat of state of emergency in Anambra. Lawyers Afenifere, Ohaneze, PDP question federal government's threat of state of emergency in Anambra.
Well, this is bound to happen, like you said earlier. Some people are bound to read a lot of meanings into this decision. Whether it will happen or not, we don't know. They are just weighing the options. But then I want to say that it's not everything that we actually need to politicize in the interest of national security. Samila, for want of time, want to say something?
Yeah. Of course, as much as we try not to politicize everything, but you see, when you say the issue of this insecurity itself, I'm not going to blame you that you are here in the studio for what is happening there. Rather, it's falls on the body of the I mean, the ruling party, you understand, or the federal government as a whole, because they are saddled with the responsibility of securing lives and property. But why people are actually raising eyebrows as to this decision is that there are states that are more volatile. Do you understand that? If you talk about killings and destruction happen even times 2 or times 3 of this. So if this is coming at a time where elections are around the corner, are you saying there's nothing you can do other than declare it? Because as far as so many people are concerned, it's like hijacking power from the back door, to say, okay, because it has been shown time without number in recent time that the APC is actually hell-bent on taking over the Southeast by every means, by right or by crook. And so when things like this are playing out, of course, people, will believe that, well, that's actually playing out in line with what they have always believed. So really, there are other ways of managing the situation without calling for state of emergency in that state.
Well, there are many ways to manage the situation without state of emergency. Many thanks to you, Samaila Musa. Samaila Musa is an Abuja-based public affairs analyst for creating time to join us on Inside
Thank you
Nigeria.
for having me. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We need to go on a short break. When we come back, we shall be looking at the forthcoming Anambra election and the possibility of a state of emergency. And of course, we'll be joined by Barrister Paul Omoluabi, a legal practitioner based in Abuja, and Dr. Patrick Duru, a lecturer at the Anambra State University, Oka, in Anambra State. We'll be back shortly.
Why will a medical doctor work for 9 months, 16 months, 19 months without getting paid?
But you see how much kidnappers are taking from victims.
My bill is government should, I think all the stakeholders in that sector, they need to be spoken to. We sit together and appeal to them. The 3% for the oil producing community is too low.
So it is support that is needed. And once you get the support, your airlines will blossom.
This is Nigeria. You need to give people sense of belonging.
Why will a medical doctor work for 9 months, 16 months, 19 months without getting paid?
But you see how much kidnappers are taking from victims.
My bill is government should, I think all the stakeholders in that sector, they need to be spoken to. We sit together and appeal to them. the 3% for the oil producing community is too low.
So it is support that is needed. And once you get the support, your airlines will blossom.
This is Nigeria. You need to give people sense of belonging.
Welcome back. It's still Inside Nigeria this morning, Thursday, October 7, 2021. Of course, I'm still with my co-host, Winifred Ogebo, to look at the issue of the forthcoming Anambra State governorship election slated for November 6, 2021, and the challenge of insecurity, which has actually necessitated the call by the federal government to impose a state of emergency. Well, Winifred, since yesterday when the Attorney General of the Federation announced that there might be a declaration of an emergency rule on Anambra State, there have been divergent opinions to this development. Some people are saying, yes, that is the right thing to do to save life and property and even Nigeria's electoral integrity, while others are saying, no, you can't do that because there are similar cases elsewhere. You didn't move that idea. So why Anambra? You know, there are also political coloration that, well, because Anambra is being governed by ABGA, APC is poised to take over the state through crook means like emergency rule. But I don't believe all these are conspiracy theories. We are expecting experts to come and help us share more light.
Yes, so, but there's bound to be divergent views, based on just like what you said, the background. There were similar scenarios in different states of the country, and it was close to election that time, even during Jonathan's exit towards his election. You understand? And the INEC insisted that no, it can conduct their election. Remember, even in that state of insurgency, as high as it were then, the voters registration, people that collected voters, were still very, very high. They even much more than those that from states that didn't have insurgency in such areas. And besides, but the Anambra State is just the only state that the INEC will. So the federal government can deploy all the security apparatus to that state without having to call for a state of emergency, because it's just Anambra. It's not all the states.
But then there is one issue at stake. The electoral umpire constitutionally charged with the responsibility of conducting the election itself is threatened. Its assets, human, material, and have been destroyed. So if the very agency that is supposed to conduct the election is unable to conduct the election, there could be constitutional crisis, and that is what the federal government is trying to avoid.
Yes, that's what we are saying, that we have security apparatus. It's just, as it were, it's just Anambra State that the election is taking place. So it can deploy, even we've had cases before in the past where, what states is that, is it Ekiti? No, Osun State, that they deploy all the security details to go to that state and secure it. So the federal government, everybody suspects the federal government to also do the same thing to make sure that there's security and the INEC staff, they are protected.
That is another good point. I think they can do it by deploying massive troops, but then by deploying massive troops to that place may also militarize the whole exercise, which is not also good for democracy.
If
so
you have to compare
a lot of dilemmas.
Wait with the state of emergency that we're talking about. This
all right. As we speak, we have been joined by Dr. Henry Duru, a mass communication lecturer at Nnamdi Azikiwe University in Okwa, Anambra State, and Barrister Paul Omoluabi, an Abuja-based legal practitioner. Welcome, gentlemen, to Inside Nigeria here at the Leadership Podcast Studio this morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Appreciate it. Good morning. Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Good to have you.
Barrister Paul, you stay with us for a few seconds. Let me start with the man at the ground zero, Dr. Henry Duru, who is in Anambra State. Dr. Henry, you are a journalist lecturer. Since the news broke that the federal government might declare a state of emergency on Anambra State ahead of the November 6th governorship election, tell us what do you feel? How do you see the scenario playing out in that state, and what do you feel about the possibility of an emergency rule?
Are you hearing us?
First of all, nobody. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
It's like the connection, Dr. Henry's connection is faulty. You still stay with us. We'll come back to you. Okay, let me go to Barrister Paul Omoluabi, an Abuja-based public affairs analyst and legal practitioner. Barrister Paul.
I appreciate it. Thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah, from the legal perspective, tell us, is this the right thing to do at this moment or not?
They can, in law, it's difficult to just have one straight answer to issues. Legally, when we talk about emergency rule, declaration of emergency rule, the president has that exclusive power to declare any part of the country to be in a state of emergency where certain issues that has to do with human life and property are threatened. But also, we also should also put into consideration Section 35 of the 1999 Constitution that talks about the fundamental human right of freedom of movement and protection of human right and all of that. We cannot but equally argue that sometimes there are situations where some of these fundamental human rights are not absolute. And in the case of Anambra State, as it stands now, the president and the security architecture or the security outfit must have carried out their assignment, and they must, it's possible they know certain things that we don't know as a public. And the president, at the advice of the security outfit, can declare a state of emergency, particularly when they discover that the life and properties of human in that jurisdiction will be exposed to danger. As I said, the right to fundamental fundamental human right, as it were, freedom of movement and all of that, cannot be said to be absolute, where there are situations that the same president who has sworn to the Constitution to protect life and property still needs to protect the life and property of individuals in the country. So if the president, in his own reasoning and a wisdom, and after carrying out series of investigation and all of that, and he feels that the environment is not safe for election, then of course is allowed by the Constitution, if it goes by the Constitution, to suspend every activity and ensure that the security of that environment is restored and confidence is restored in the life of those within that jurisdiction. I think what the president is trying to do at the long run is to ensure that the people in that environment are safe first, and the life and property are safe, because we have all been in the media, we've been following up what is happening in that environment. From the reports we are getting, it is obvious that it is not safe to even do anything, any transaction within that environment. And the other angle to it is the question you said something just now, that is it that the president or the security heads can deploy sufficient security to the environment? Of course they can, but it still depends on the information they have, the investigation they have carried out. And if the information they have is very disturbing, it is important to put a check by suspending every human activity, declare the environment as a state of emergency, and ensure that things are restored before the normal activity will begin. Thank you. I couldn't hear you at all. I know you are hearing me. I couldn't get a feedback. I can't hear you.
Just give us few seconds. We will fix the connection.
Okay, I think it's back now. I can hear you now.
All right.
Okay.
Okay,
you may have to ask me. I don't know if you heard all the things that I've just said.
Yes,
I will come back.
Okay.
I was asking where do we go from here? There are opposition already mounting, growing against the federal government's idea of a possible declaration of state of emergency. So, what is the worst case scenario?
Beautiful. Now, we are in a country where we have laws. We have the 1999 Constitution, which is the ground norm that governs the entire country. Whoever that feels that the step the president is taking is not the appropriate step, we have the right channel. It is not violence. We have the right channel to ventilate our actions. If anybody feels that the step the president is taking or likely to take in declaring Anambra State as a state of emergency, as it were, it is expected that that person should approach a court of competent jurisdiction and cry loud to the court, informing the court that, look, there is every likelihood that my right to freedom of movement, my right to expression and association is going to be infringed on. Then, of course, since we are governed by laws, it is left for the court to look at whatever the person and aggrieved party has canvassed and come out with a decision that will either stop the president from declaring the state as a state of emergency, or even allow the president to go ahead, because of course the president will also have his own representation in the suit, and depose reasons why the state has to be declared a state of emergency. I don't know if you are with me, sir. Are you still with me? Yeah. I can't hear you.
Go ahead.
Okay. So, like as I said, parties, whoever that is aggrieved, whether in group or an individual, they have the right to go to court, approach the relevant court, canvass your request, make your prayers, give reasons why you need to continue to enjoy your freedom of movement, you need to enjoy your fundamental human right, as it were. You must give reason, and of course you also have to give the opportunity for the president, who will join in the matter, to also give reason why the state is not safe at this moment, and the reason why they have to suspend whatever activity that is ongoing to protect life. So the court has that exclusive discretion to decide either way, to either decide that, look, the president, you have acted in excess of your power. It is not as bad as people think. If parties from that axis are saying that we are safe, our life is safe, we can continue our daily transaction and all of that, then of course the president will also have to remind the court that he is on oath. He has sworn to defend the country, to defend human rights, to defend life and property, and that he will not be able to sleep when he sees that life and property are being destroyed, and order needs to be put in place. So basically, the court is the final place to run to as it stands now. If anybody feels his right is likely going to be breached, he should please run to the court and seek protection from the court, and the final decision comes from the court. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Barrister, if you are not talking from legal perspective now, let's ask you as a Nigerian, you know what is happening every day and you know the happenings in the polity. Can the fears of the opposition be justified? Because they're already saying this is a ploy by the federal government to rig the Anambra election. Because if a state of emergency is declared, a sole administrator will be appointed, and he will be an appointee of the ruling APC. So, can their fears be justified?
Yes, it's still very dicey. If I have to speak like a layman, let me leave law for now and talk like a layman. As an opposition, what do you expect? An opposition is an opposition, and it will never see anything good coming from his opponent. An opposing party is expected to come up with his own view that is not comfortable with. That, of course, the fear is if you allow this to go, an administrator will be appointed by the other party, and our right of franchise to elect whoever we want to elect will be frustrated. Now, let me tell you, an opposition is expected to always cry. That is why he's in a position of opposition. He can't be clapping for the other party that you are doing the right thing. So it's expected that the opposition should fight back, whether legally or morally or whatever form. They should cry to the high heavens and say, look, we are not comfortable with the position. These are the likely, because they have to protect themselves. These are the likely areas who will be injured. We are likely going to be completely silenced from governance. You know, so an opposition is expected to cry. And most time, the cry will be a favorable cry to his own side. An opposition will hardly praise the other party if he's doing well, because opposition wants to be in power and he wants to do everything to see that the public follows him. So if I have to discuss like a layman, it is expected that the opposition should come up with whatever they feel they are injured with. But of course, the other party will also come up with what they feel. It's balanced, but note that the person who is in power has so much power on him to decide what he feels. But however, that's the beauty of law. We still have the law work for us. So as a layman, you have little or nothing to rely on. So you have to run back to law and stretch your rights under the legal principles to see that that right is protected. Thank you.
All right. Many thanks to you, Barrister Paul Omoluabi. I don't know if we still have Dr. Henry Duru with us from Anambra. All right, Dr. Henry. Can you hear us? Wow. Okay, we cannot still hear you, Dr. Henry Duru is a mass communication lecturer at the Nnamdi Azikiwe University in Oka. We wish we can actually...
Can you hear me?
We can hear you now, Barrister. We have just a few seconds to round up the program. Yeah, good. You are in Anambra, you see things for yourself. So tell us, what is your feeling with the possibility of a state of emergency in Anambra ahead of the governorship election?
Okay. First of all, we need to appreciate the peculiarity of the situation that we have here right now. Some persons have actually stated rightly that what is happening here is not different from what has been happening in other places. That is in terms of the nature of the breakdown in law and order. When you talk about killing, when you talk about kidnapping, we have seen that in other parts of Nigeria, even on a larger scale. But if you ask me, I will say that comparing what is happening in Anambra State with what has been happening in other parts of the country may not be the right thing to do at the moment. We need to actually contextualize the situation in Anambra State. We are talking about an election, and we are talking about a situation that is threatening the election. So within the context of that election, within the context of successfully and safely having an election and averting a constitutional crisis that is likely to arise if that election is not held, I will say that we have a very difficult, a very unusual situation. So when someone suggests declaration of a state of emergency, I think it is not completely out of place. But secondly, if you look at it from the perspective of the fears raised by the opposition regarding the implication of such emergency declaration on the oncoming election, you will ask one question first. Declaration of a state of emergency, does it necessarily entail removal of the governor? Some legal opinions have actually been pushed in that regard, and right from the time Obasanjo declared a state of emergency in Plateau State, that was in 2004, we had the same legal opinion saying that removal of a governor without recourse to the Constitution is illegal. It is irregular because the Constitution has stated clearly the circumstances in which a state governor may be legally removed, and then the process or processes for such removal, and none of them includes a state of emergency. I think what happened is that we have been following a wrong precedent since Tafawa Balewa set that precedent in 1962 when he declared a state of emergency in the Western region. The premier was removed while a sole administrator was appointed. Then we saw Obasanjo following that same precedent in 2004 in Plateau State when Governor Darie was removed. And then later in Ekiti State when via the instrumentality of state of emergency, he removed Governor Ayodele Fayose of that state. But then,
I need to cut you short because of time. You may not need to go on that historical lane again because of time. We have just few seconds. Just tell us, let me just conclude that. Okay.
Yes, let me conclude. That, but we saw an exception to that. Yes, we saw an exception to that when Jonathan declared a state of emergency in 3 northeast states of Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe. The governors remained. So I think declaration of a state of emergency, once we remove that fear of removal of a governor, once we do it constitutionally, it's not a problem. So that fear will be unfounded if we follow the law. Yeah.
All right. So if we take away the argument for state of emergency or otherwise, now, are you concerned that even the commission responsible for free and fair election, INEC, its capacity to declare or to deliver that job has been threatened because its facilities, assets, human and materials are being destroyed?
Yes. Yes, I'm very much concerned. If you look around the states now, you don't see any electioneering activity. People are even afraid of putting on caps that has a political party's logo. You don't see branded vehicles as we usually see. So there is a state of almost a state of law when it comes to electioneering, and that is very unusual when you are talking about an election that is just 4 weeks from yesterday. So I think I'm very worried as to the capacity of INEC to deliver that, and I can confidently predict that we're going to have a very low turnout of voters if the election eventually holds under these circumstances.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Henry Duru, Mass Communication Lecturer at the Nnamdi Azikiwe University in Awka, Anambra State, who has been speaking to us from ground zero. And of course, our second guest, Barrister Paul Omoluabi, for creating time to join us on Inside Nigeria this morning. Many thanks to both of you, and we hope to see more of you on this show. Winifred, it's time to go.
They'll be signaling us, our IT people, that yes, it's time. So tomorrow is another day. Keep a date with us.
All right, from here too, my name is Bode Gbadebo. Bye for now.